ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः ॐ तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः ॐ तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतंगमय ॐ शांति शांति शांति. Thank you. After I think a gap of almost 2 weeks, yeah, yes, more than we had a 2 week hiatus, and we're going to start the 44th verse, or is it 43rd?
44th, Krishnapaluji, because we talked about the sun, destruction of darkness. If you'd like to do it again, no problem.
Yeah, no, I'll just
Recap.
yeah, recap.
Oh, sure.
Things. And I will no, that's see, the important point in this particular case is I think it says I'm sharing 2 applications. One. I don't know. Among the participants, I appear. Am I appearing at 2 places?
No.
Oh, it's okay. Okay.
We can't view your screen, sir.
Yeah, no, you can't see me. I've just.
No, even the slides we can't see.
Slides you can't see? Just a minute.
Yeah.
Stop
viewing and do again.
Okay. Stop sharing. Yes. Now I think I'll open this. Okay, just hold on for a minute. Wait. You can go. Share. Yes. Are you able to see now?
Now we can see. Now we can see.
Okay. Thank you. Now the 43rd one, which we did last time, I just want to make one point here that the beautiful analogy that is given is that before the sunrise we can see the dawn, the redness in the sky in the east. That's what is called as Aruna. Aruna also means red. So that's the dawn. The appearance of Aruna itself destroys the darkness to a great extent. And then the actual sun rises. So here he is giving a beautiful analogy of saying that the Aruna of awakening appears in the east, which destroys the darkness, and then the Atma reveals itself like the sun. The point to be noted is that the Atman is something which is ever present. Atman is something which is always there, like the sun. what needs to be destroyed or what needs to be eliminated through awakening is ignorance only. This is what Adi Shankara also says in his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, that jnana is meant for the removal of ajnana. Jnana by itself does not liberate you or does not free you or does not make the presence of Brahman appear. Because there is no cause and effect there. The Karya Karana Sambandha, the cause and effect relationship is not there as far as the Brahman is concerned, or the equivalent of it is what we are calling as the Atman. The Atman and Brahman are qualitatively not different at all. So what appears for our purpose is only the destruction or the removal of ignorance. That's the only attempt to be made. You cannot make any attempt to realize the Brahman as such. In the sense that the Brahman is not subject to any action by anybody in any manner whatsoever. The Brahman is there, that's all. It is pure, eternal, beyond space and time, beyond cause and effect. What can be done is only the removal of the ignorance part of it through awakening. The ignorance is compared to darkness, which is taken away by the dawn. The physical darkness is removed by the dawn. That's why we call it as dawning of wisdom. It's not the rising of wisdom like the sun. It's only the dawning of wisdom or awakening which takes away the darkness, So, the Brahman is eternal and it is already there. So that's the beautiful comparison he wants to give here, saying that when the darkness of ignorance is removed, then the Atman will unveil itself, reveal itself. Avirbhaved Atma Swayameva Amshumaniva. On its own, Swayameva Amshuman. Amshuman is the sun. Like the sun, the Atman also unveils or reveals itself once the darkness of ignorance is removed by the dawn of wisdom or the dawn of awakening. Aruneneva bodhena. Purvam. Purvam is in the east or before. It has two meanings. Purva means it is east also, and Purva also means before. That means, first of all, the awareness or awakening should lead to removal of the darkness. Then the sun of Brahman will automatically reveal itself. That is the import of this. This is a very, very beautiful analogy, which tells you very clearly that it is not something which can be achieved. Moksha or liberation or nirvana or Brahman or all these terms have very little significance beyond the words. We really do not know what it is. What can be done and what should be done is only to be aware of the ignorance that is engulfing us and find a means of removing that through awakening. That's the idea. Another beautiful aspect is brought out in this particular verse number 44, which we are going to take up. आत्मा तु सततं प्राप्तोऽप्यप्राप्तवद् अविद्यया तन्नाशे प्राप्तवद् भवति भरणं यथा. Though Atman is an ever-present reality, yet because of ignorance it is unrealized. On the destruction of ignorance, Atman is realized. It is like the case of the ornament on one's own neck. This beautiful analogy is given that you are wearing the ornament, you are wearing the necklace, but you are searching for it everywhere, unaware of the fact that it is around your neck. You're not looking at that. Sometimes, quite often it happens. You have something in your pocket, but you keep searching for it elsewhere. And there's that famous Hindi saying, "Bagal mein bacha, gaon mein dandora." The child is in the arms, and they are searching all over the village, and they are also asking somebody to beat the drums, saying that my child is missing. So, the Atman which is ever present, Satatam Praptaha Api, even though it is ever present and it is easily reachable actually. It is something which can be very easily perceived or realized effortlessly, but appears to be difficult and not within our grasping because of avidya. Avidyaya apraptavat. Because of avidya, apraptavat, as though you are unable to realize. See, both the term vat is used here twice. Apraptavat avidyaya. Tannashe praptavat. These terms are very important. For one who knows the Sanskrit language, the nuances of these words have got very deep meaning. He is not saying because of avidya you will not get it. It will appear as though you can't get it. And by the destruction of that avidya, you will get it as though you are getting it for the first time, or you are realizing it for the first time. Praptavat, apraptavat. Atma tu satatam praptaha api. Even though it is something which is ever present and easily accessible, it appears to be inaccessible, unattainable on account of avidya. On the destruction of that avidya, tannashe, praptavat bhavati. Atman becomes or appears to be readily accessible and appearing and easily accessible to you, just like swakantha bharanam yatha, like the ornament one is wearing around one's own neck. It's always there. You have covered it up. You might be wearing a shawl around it, or you may be wearing something around it, and you are unaware of the fact that this is there in your neck. Then what happens? Then automatically you will be searching it everywhere except where it is lying. And that famous verse of the Kasturi Mruga. There's a particular type of deer which carries what is called as this Kasturi, which gives out beautiful fragrance. It is inside its body. But because of the fragrance which it is emanating, the deer goes round the forest trying to find out where this fragrance is coming from. Kasturi kundal base mrugud hunde banamahi. The saying is that Kasturi is in the kundala, it is in its stomach, is in its stomach. But Mrugad Banamahi, the Mruga or the deer is searching for it everywhere. So that's the beauty of this analogy. Here again he says, and as I said, kindly try to understand the beauty of the nuances and the language that is used where he says apraptavat and praptavat. Because unless he uses the term vat, as though, which means as though, it may cause a confusion in the mind of the sadhaka that it is something which can be grasped, attained, or accessed. It's not so. Unfortunately, because of the limitation of the language, we are having this problem. We are having this problem because of the limitation of the language. Okay? So, the beauty of this has to be understood that the Atman is eternal and ever present, and that is the only reality. There is no other reality. The importance of the term vat, which I have given here, is not covered in the commentary. But that's the beauty of the language, because you can't really capture it in the translation or in the explanation part of it, and you need to understand the, perceive the beauty of it. Okay? Shall we go to the next verse? Okay. He gives one important point here in the translation. He says, Atman, the ever-present reality, remains as an unknown and an unrealized object. In the sense, it's not something which one can make an attempt to. Okay. Then we come to the next verse, 45. Sthanau Purushavad Bhrantya Kruta Brahmani Jivata Jivasya Tattvike Rupe Tasmin Drishte Nivartate. Brahman appears to be a jiva through ignorance, as the stump of a tree appears to be a man. This jivahood is destroyed when the real nature of the jiva is realized. See, sthanu means the stump of a tree or something which is stationary, something which is immovable, and something like a pillar also. From a distance, if the light is not proper, quite often we mistake that pillar or the stump of a tree to be a man standing there. So this is another very classic, typical and ancient example that is given, or analogy that is given about a sthanu and a purusha, about a stump of a tree and a man, like the rope and snake analogy. It appears to be that way. This is on account of what? On account of Bhranti. Bhranti is illusion, Brahma. That illusion is what causes this confusion between the stump of a tree and which appears as though a man is standing there. Now, the scriptures have always said that Brahman alone is the reality and nothing else is real. But this statement is true at one level. in the sense that the presence of Brahman is permeated throughout the creation. Every atom or even every subatomic particle is imbued with the spirit of Brahman. But it's not Brahman in its true nature, in its total, infinite, effulgent reality. It's the very first mantra of the Ishavasya Upanishad, which says, Ishavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. It's imbued, the spirit of the whole creation is imbued with the spirit of the Isha, which is the Brahman. But what has happened to that Brahman? It has been stepped down several levels and covered itself with veils and veils and veils around it, whereby it loses its own identity and somehow tries to identify itself with these coverings, with these veils. So the Jiva and Brahma are essentially the same, but on account of ignorance, the Jiva cannot realize his own true nature. That can happen only when the Jiva realizes that it is not the veils and the coverings and the bodies and so on and so forth, but something much more essential is operating in its own being, and that is none other than the Brahman. See, we have seen, I think earlier in our discussions, we talked about the Jiva, the Jivatma, the Ishvara, and the Brahman. Technically, they appear to be different as four aspects, but essentially, it is the same thing that is invisibly connected from the highest to the lowest. That's why sometimes they use this term called as Sutratman, which in the Theosophical literature, in the secret doctrine, Madam Blavatsky uses a peculiar technical term called as Fohat, F-O-H-A-T. If you read the beginning parts of the secret doctrine also, you will find this reference to Fohat. And in the book by Jeffrey Barborka, which is actually a condensed version of what has been given in the secret doctrine, there also he will give you an explanation about what is this Fohat and the Sutra. Sutra is means a thread. It's an invisible thread which connects the highest to the lowest. Everything is connected. This is essentially the point which we need to understand very carefully when it is said the whole of humanity is one. Jiddu Krishnamurti always used to say that you are the humanity. Now it appears to be ridiculous because our experience does not make us understand how I can be the humanity. I am different. I am totally different. I am individual. My likes, my dislikes, my habits, my behavior, my body, my nature, everything differs from everybody else in this world. So how can I equate myself to a crook? How can I equate myself to a rapist or a terrorist or an extremist? How can I equate myself to that fellow? And it is abhorrent. Sometimes you say that you and that fellow are one and the same is something which I would not like to accept. But it's not the external factors which are being brought out here to say that you are the humanity, but the fundamental nature of consciousness, which is unity, And the fundamental nature of Brahman, which is again unity, which connects everybody. Because of our identification with these external appearances, we lose that connection. We have lost that connection, and therefore it is the identity of separation, that I am a separate entity, is so strong and so powerful that it is unwilling to accept this unity. That's the essential point which we need to recognize. So the Jiva in its true nature, Tattvike Rupe, in its real form, real nature, is the Brahman. And when can that happen? Tasmin drishte nivartate. When you see that it's not a stump of tree, but it's a man, your ignorance is removed, and you see what it is. Again, coming to G.D. Krishnamurti, what is? Seeing the what is very important. Without any judgment, without condemnation, without acceptance, without rejection. Because one needs to examine also oneself that way. See, whether cruelty is a little bit or greater amount of cruelty is only a social phenomenon, isn't it? I am cruel, but I am not so cruel to go and commit a crime. But that's only a societal differentiation. I am angry. I have anger in me. But I am not so angry as to go and kill somebody. But maybe last year or sometime before that, a murder happened that way in a fit of anger in Hyderabad. Somebody killed somebody. X killed Y. Now Y's father was terribly disturbed. And in a public place, openly, he comes and kills this fellow who has killed his son, who is actually, a legal case is going on or something like that, and he has been released on bail or something. This fellow went and killed him. I may not be that angry, but essentially, do I have that quality of anger in me or not? That quality of hatred, that quality of violence in me or not? The smallest amount of any of these impurities can always have the propensity of becoming larger if the proper atmosphere is created for it. If a proper environment is created, because these are organic in nature. Organic in nature in the sense they have a life of their own. My anger, my hatred, my jealousy, my violence, my terrible passions, they have a life of their own. And when that is there, given the proper field, proper soil and proper water and sunlight and fertilizer and other provisions, it will become a big tree. So I cannot differentiate myself from a rapist just because I have not committed the act, but I have the seed of it in me. That's where we need to realize, where we need to understand and attack the whole problem. So you see, the point I'm trying to make is that this organic elements which are there, which have their own life and which can come to fruition or come to expand themselves and become bigger problems, is always there unless you remove it completely. It has to be totally, that's why purity is that purity. When we talked about purity and exhaustion of karma are the only things which we are capable of doing or we are supposed to do, It is that purity which you are talking, which cannot brook any amount, even an iota of impurity is a problem. I think I told sometime in the School of Ancient Wisdom, maybe it's a long time, because over the past 6-7 years, I might have told so many things and I keep repeating them also. It doesn't matter. But very interestingly, the past president of the Theosophical Society, International President Radha Bernier, she would narrate this ridiculous joke. She would say, it's as ridiculous as saying that I am a little bit pregnant. There's no question of little bit pregnant. Either you are pregnant or you are not pregnant. Either you are pure or you are impure. When we talk in terms of purity, and you can't say that only small impurity is there, sir. The rest of it, 99.99% is pure. It doesn't help. From a spiritual point of view, it doesn't help. That is the sadhana which even the greatest of the saints had struggled. Somewhere or the other, they find a small speck of that impurity which is tormenting them. That's why in all the Vaggayakaras, the singer saints, the poet saints, the bhaktas have always lamented in their works, in their songs, about this attachment of impurity which is not going away, which is somehow holding on to it and then unable to get rid of it. So that's the point which we need to understand from this. Okay. If we have any questions or things, we can discuss further. Yes, please. Anybody? I'll maybe stop sharing for some time and we can see the grid here.
Ji, namaskar.
Yeah, Ramchandranji, tell me.
Repeatedly earlier we discussed that body and mind can never be made pure because it is the wheeling power will be always would be there. However best
Right.
you try to move.
Right.
And so attaining 100% is an impossibility even for a big wise man or a jnani. So,
Right.
sir, how do we then say
You know that
100%?
the only way is to operate at the Jivatman level. To
Yes.
elevate your consciousness, and that should be your abode. That should be your normal level of consciousness.
True.
You come down to use the body like like a shirt, like your dress. You come down
Yes.
to use it, and that's why
Yes.
it was said of Ramana Maharshi that he was in a state of Sahaja Samadhi. Sahaja Samadhi means a natural state of Samadhi. That was his natural state. This was unnatural.
Yes.
You understand, sir?
Absolutely.
The more you dwell here, you are bound to accumulate dust.
It's true. Karmas are performed.
You are bound to accumulate dust here. As long as you are at the lower mental level, H.P. Blavatsky used to say, the mind is like a mirror which gathers dust as it reflects. But every time keep cleaning it, every time keep cleaning it, every time keep cleaning it. See, that is what Purandaradasa said. Allide namma mane, illirade summane. You understand that? He said,
Yes.
my house is there, my original house. I am here just like that. There's a beautiful, statement or which very poetically puts it. Mane means a house.
Correct. Yes.
Or an abode. Summane means just like that, just for the heck of it. So he says, Allide namma mane, illide summane. I'm just here, that's all. I have nothing to do with this world at all. Yasmannodvijate loko lokannodvijate chaya harsha marsha bhayodvegairmukta yas sachame priya. This is unconnected with this. The world does not agitate me or impact me in any manner, and I do not impact the world in any manner whatsoever. Jiddu Krishnamurti very rarely used to make a statement, sir, I'm not in this at all. I'm not in this at all. It's your problem. So the whole idea is that you cannot be in sitting in muck and purify yourself. As long as you are stuck in the Dehatma, purity is an illusion.
Yes.
You have to elevate your consciousness to permanently live in that state of elevated state of consciousness of the Jivatman. That means at the Atma Buddhi Manas level, at that higher Buddhi, higher Atma, higher Manas, that should be where the causal body is there.
Yes.
You should be normally, generally, and naturally active in the Jivatma and not the Dehatma. That is the Sahaja Samadhi. Sahaja means natural. The literal meaning of it is born along with. Sahaja means that which is born along with you. It means something which is a part of your nature. So don't try to go for extreme purity down here. Try to restrict that purity to the extent possible without becoming obsessed about it.
Okay. Yes.
But the actual purity, the total purity can come about only when you are able to function consciously at the Jivatman level, and that too after you get rid of your karma. See, what happens is your karma may be remaining and a particular disease may afflict you.
Yes.
A particular disease may afflict you. Just a minute, my battery. Yes, sir. Sorry. I did not plug in the power for my system. Right. Okay. Now the point is, don't think in terms of extreme focus on purity. Like for example, when we talk about Yamaniyamas,
Yes.
you can't pursue one after the other. It has to be a comprehensive way.
Both. Yes.
Ahimsa satyasteya brahmacharya parigraha yamaha. When he says ahimsa, I cannot go to the extreme of ahimsa. Because creation has that process of birth and death, that cyclical nature of it is there. So some form of violence will continue in anything. Then similarly, when he talks about niyama, shaucha, santosha, tapas, swadhyaya, ishvara pranidhana, niyama, shaucha. Cleanliness. Cleanliness at every level. And even at the physical level, the Yoga Sutras define as Swanga Jugupsa Parairasam Sargaha. You should be disgusted about your own body and not be in contact with anybody. Can't forcibly act upon remaining aloof from everybody. No, it can't be forced. It should be such that naturally you reach a stage of purity where any contact will create that some form of impurity. So all the yamas and niyamas are completely attainable and realizable only at the stage of samadhi, not before that. But a great level of purity is required. A reasonably high level of non-violent attitude is required. So that is the purity which we are talking from a sadhaka's point. And therefore, another dimension to it which I mentioned and which I keep mentioning every time is exhaustion of karma.
Mas.
Because as long as your karma is there, you will not be free. That itself is the bondage. So progressively relieve yourself mentally. Don't get attached to things mentally. You have something good, you enjoy it, you keep it and do it. But it should not be an obsession. It should not be an attachment. It should not be some kind of a perversion about anything for that matter. You understand, sir?
Thank you, sir. God bless.
So that's what we are talking about. Okay? Anything else? Or shall I go to the next verse? Yes, sir. Is it okay, Binaji? Shall we go to the next verse?
We have time to do the next verse.
Yeah, we have the time. We started. It's only 10:47.
Okay.
Sir,
Yes, please. Somebody was asking a question. Yes,
yes, sir.
Meenaji, boliye.
Yeah. So this is a continuous process of our own sadhana, which is self-awareness all the time.
Which is?
Self-awareness.
Yes.
Be aware every
Yes.
moment of
Yes. Bodha.
Bodha. Yeah.
Awakening, awareness, alertness.
Yeah.
No, that's a very interesting thing actually.
Yes.
I keep doing that. Suddenly, see, things are not what I really want. Yes,
Yeah.
in the house. Now I'm sitting in a mess with lot of boxes and all around me, and I can't trace things which I really immediately want sometimes because I've shifted my residence. I suddenly feel an urge to, say something loudly or shout at my wife. Then I said, should I shout or not? I think better not to shout. Let us discuss it there. Calm down, and then because this is a problem. There is an issue. I can't find something which I have packed. How do I expect somebody else to find it for me so easily? So
Yes.
if you become alert about things, automatically there will be a transformation. There will be in small doses. In small doses, this transformation is bound to happen. And if you are constantly alert, and as again Krishnamurti says, choicelessly, constantly alert, then what happens? You will be able to see the beauty of things around you. You will be able to actually perceive a reality which was hidden. So that is the actual sadhana which we are talking about, as you said, Neenaji.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So anything else, Janaki Ramji?
No, it is clear. Only thing is, in the context of potential, I got some, what is that, relationship to tamas, rajas, and sattva. So it is potentially in everybody.
Yeah. Right, you are right. That dimension is also that is all their potential. You have to root it out. In the sense, the predominance of sattva should be so much that the effect of rajas and tamas should be negligible. That's how when one needs to that's the transformation which the Bhagavad Gita also talks about. Why you need to become sattvic? Because see, I think there is a beautiful quote there. Again, I think today I received some quote from Jiddu Krishnamurti's thing. I'll just read out that. It says, as long as a human mind is hurt and therefore insensitive, it will never know what beauty is, and without beauty there is no love. We are hurt. We carry so much of hurt in every
Sir,
form. Yes.
sir, please repeat it, sir. Please repeat
Yeah.
it.
As long as human mind is hurt and therefore insensitive, it will never know what beauty is. And without beauty, there is no love. You see the beauty of this statement. This hurt is what we carry with us. Our memories, our jealousies, our ego, our problems, our issues with relationships, with people. This fellow said that, that fellow said that, he hurt me then, he hurt me later. See, see, very surprisingly, I came to realize when there was some issue, I am one of those people who would like to go and resolve issues. If somebody has a problem with me and he is not in talking terms or something like that, I go out of my way and then talk to that person, go to his house, apologize and come. In one instant, long back, maybe about 8 years or 9 years back, when such an incident happened, when I went, that other gentleman said, you hurt me in 1984, you said this, 1985, you said this. I was shocked. Might be true also. See, because he is the one who has suffered on account of my words. Then I said, I really don't know. I really don't remember. But I never meant it. And even if it is, if there's an iota of truth in that, I would like to profusely apologize to you. So we carry such things in us. Fortunately, I can say one thing that I have no enemies. There's absolutely nobody in this world whom I can call really as my enemy. Or somebody with whom I am not in talking terms. Or I don't carry that ill will at all. And I would, as I said, I would like to go out of my way and seek their forgiveness and apologize to them and settle it there, get rid of it. That gentleman is a very close friend of mine now. Because he never expected that one would come to him, meet him personally and go to his house and apologize. Because he was, I don't know, see, for various reasons, I might have really hurt him. You see, if sometimes what happens is if you cut a joke on somebody and make him the butt end of some ridicule or some joke, they may get offended. Like Meenaji, if you remember, what is the beautiful statement of Satya Sai Baba? Hurt never, never hurt, help ever.
Help ever, hurt never.
Yeah, help ever, hurt never. It's a beautiful statement. See, if you can help somebody, help her, but never try to hurt anybody. But it happens. It happens even now. Children get offended. Children are getting offended. Obviously your son and daughter, and they also get offended because they don't want you to point out their mistakes, or they want it to. My son keeps telling me, it's not what you say. What you say is true, but how you say is what is offending. I said, okay, I'm sorry. This is the way I am. Bear with me because I happen to be your biological father in this life. So you kindly bear with me. You can't really help her. So you see the point again Janaki Ramji brought out is that that Sattvika nature has to dominate to such an extent that the Tamasic and the Rajasic elements are quite negligible. You can't actually remove them completely. Because in the very creation it is said in the Viveka Chudamani and Tattva-bodha that you can't find Sattva, Rajas, Tamas gunas in their pure form in manifestation at all. They are only in their purest form in the Avyakta Prakriti. In the unmanifest stage of the Prakriti, they are in their purest forms. Otherwise, they are not there. Okay?
Also, sir, I would say, it is the hurt vibration which we send, or the negative vibrations which we
Yes.
send.
Yes.
And we always want to now retreat back and say, I love you and I want to send you good thoughts.
What happens is there is a danger here. That's why the reason why one needs to be totally anonymous and not seek any form of name or fame in this world is most essential for the spiritual aspirant.
Yeah.
Because whether you like it or not, unconsciously, the politicians become targets for so much of hatred or so much of love or whatever it is, extremes of everything.
Yeah.
Why? Because he happens to be very famous, very powerful. He is, you know, what we did to Trump. You know, a global movement is created against him, and similarly, a global movement for him is also created by some people, and ultimately, it results in some kind of violence erupting and attacking the Capitol Hill.
And affecting his money.
That's right. That is the reason why Jiddu Krishnamurti, in 1948, when he was in Pune, when somebody came and told him that Gandhiji has assassinated, he accused that fellow and said, you killed him.
Ah.
The meaning of it was that the violence in the whole body of human consciousness has affected and come out in this form of killing somebody. So, from a spiritual point of view, it is most important to remain anonymous, totally anonymous, and be at a stage where you are unaffected by any form of name or form. Again, Ramana Maharshi is the best example of it. He never moved out of Tiruvannamalai, never moved out of that place. And luckily for him, there was all these means of communication were also not there, and he never traveled anywhere. See, he became famous incidentally. Incidentally, when Kavyakantha Ganapati Muni, he named him as Ramana, and then he started publishing some works, and people started from all over the world. But he was unaffected by it. Even now, I am sure very few people really know about Ramana Maharshi. Maybe 1 or 2% of the world population may be knowing it. That's okay. But if you create an organization, if you create followers, you create volunteers, you create a huge business model out of it, then you are into trouble. Then you are into serious trouble. You want the regular WhatsApp messages, regular FaceTime messages, regular YouTube uploadings and all that. That's again a nonsense.
Yeah, creative work.
Yeah. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah.
In fact, the School of Ancient Wisdom had a good policy of not actually recording it, but because of this pandemic, we are recording and uploading and doing things. But earlier, that was not the case. You remain anonymous, and as Maniji said, whoever is bound to come will come to the School of Ancient Wisdom. So that's the point. Yes, sir. Anything else? Because I don't.
See, one more thing.
Yeah.
One more thing I remembered, and I'm sure many of us will remember. On Thursday evening, sometimes we used to watch Bruce Lipton's video for an hour, where he clearly demonstrates what is meant by oneness. 7.8 billion cells make a human body, he used to tell.
Yeah.
Each person is like a cell, and
Yes.
7.8 billion becomes oneness.
Correct.
It's a beautiful video. I don't know if Ravi is there, and Ravi can show sometime on a Thursday or whenever convenient. It's worth watching. We used to watch that. I don't know how many members remember in this group now.
See,
Sir,
that is the meaning of Vishwarupa. In the Vishwarupa, every human being is included. All the creatures are included in it. Every creature, every human being is a cell in the Vishwarupa, in the cosmic form of the Ishvara. That's where it is. See, that's the beauty of it. And each cell has a function of its own. The cell in the liver is different from the cell in the spleen. The cell in the spleen is different from the cell in the heart. They come together to create an organ and function through that. That's the beauty of it. Yes, sir. Anything else? Ramchandranji, you wanted to say something?
Sarji, can you read out Krishnaji's statement again? I'm just
Krishnaji's statement again. Yeah. As long as a human mind is hurt, H-U-R-T, hurt, and therefore insensitive, it will never know what beauty is. Full stop. And without beauty, there is no love. God is love.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. You said that even an iota of hurt, is remaining in the heart.
Yeah, I told you, no, I made a statement earlier that an iota of hatred in you will occupy the whole space and there won't be a space for love at all.
Yes, you said it earlier.
Yeah. An iota of hatred is enough to occupy the entire space of your mind and heart and your whole consciousness, and therefore you will have no space for love or compassion. Hatred for one person is enough. Love can be infinite, but hatred can be self-enclosing and self-limiting, and therefore it will consume your being.
Very true.
That's the beauty of it. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So I am somewhat reluctant to start the next verse, and therefore I am dragging it on for discussion, because it's important to discuss certain things and come to understand the implications of what sadhana actually means, what this inner preparation means. Because this has to be a constant. Yes, sir.
Sir, we need more clarity, sir.
Yeah. Then the point is that unless there is this inner preparedness, inner preparation which is constantly going on, you can't really come to terms with things. You can't really come to terms with things.
So, sir, you have to dissolve the individuality.
Yes, yeah, madam, your voice is not clear.
I said we have to dissolve the individuality as such.
No. See, that individuality dissolving is a game which the mind is playing with us. Don't think in those terms. Are we aware of every thought, word, and deed? Are we aware or not? Are we acutely aware of it or alert to it? That alertness itself brings about a transformation. The mind need not separately resolve that I should dissolve, which it will never do. The mind will never allow you to dissolve the individuality, because that's what is its life. It will hold on to it. What is important is become acutely aware of how the mind operates. That's the most important part.
Yes. So we have to recognize.
Don't make resolutions, and don't come to conclusions. Don't try to allow the mind to become active, because these are all activities of the mind.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So that's what it is.
In Hindi.
Yes, Sumanji.
In Hindi, we say man ko sadho.
And
सावधानी ही साधना है.
Yes. Savdhana. Avadhana means bringing all energies together. Savadhana means bringing all your attention to it, all your awareness and alertness to it. But then it becomes the mind, it will stop playing all these games. It will stop playing these games. Then only it's possible. Okay, I think we can close here.
Saji,
Yes, please.
this morning my wife made a criticizing statement jokingly.
Huh.
I told her, whenever you are going to make such things, I'm going to remain silent. She said it is very good.
Okay. No, you enjoy what she said.
Yes, otherwise I could have said that.
Silence could be indifference. But
Yeah.
I'm going asking you one step further, go one step further and enjoy it.
Thank you.
Sir, Sarangiji, you wanted to say something?
A small problem, sir.
Yes, sir, please.
I can see that we don't have any problem with anybody other than human to human relationship.
Yes.
It is easy to handle all other relationship or situations, all sorts of things. Now coming to this human to human relationship, we may try to cure ourselves, but the other party, if they are impure, then they will try to put us impure.
Sir,
And the law of nature is that spoiled mango, if it is put amongst good mangoes, it will spoil all other good mangoes also.
right, sir.
How actually we can get over this sort of problem?
No. See,
Is it okay, sir? Sir, is it okay to forget that instance and carry on?
No, but do you really forget?
Yes, sir. It is possible to forget.
No, if you have
If you
really
don't think
forgotten,
about
there
it,
is.
If you don't think about it,
No, don't tell me that. Don't think about it, not the
you see,
issue.
not think about the sense. You can switch off your mind about that instance, that person.
Sir, have
When
you
you
done
come
it
across-
permanently? No, have you done it permanently?
Yeah, it becomes like that actually.
No, if you have
You know,
totally
it
forgotten.
is left.
No,
It is left to the other person to react. In the sense,
sir,
he wants to avoid me. It's all right. If I meet him, it's all right. Saying
that
hello or
doesn't-
something like that
right.
is okay.
Right. I fully agree. But what I'm saying is, just see whether you have totally and really forgotten it or not. The moment you see that person, it will come back to memory. No.
It doesn't come back, sir.
Ah.
The doesn't come back.
No, the intensity may reduce.
No, nothing. I don't carry. The other chap carries. That is where the problem.
How do you know that the other man is carrying unless you know that you accost him and come to face with him?
Try to accost him once and I find that no, it is deep rooted. When it is
No.
deep rooted, is it
Sir.
necessary to waste your time to clarify everything?
Not
Life is
necessary.
long, so many people are there. It is
Yes,
better
sir.
to carry on.
Right, that is true. But what I'm saying is, from your part, if you are totally free of it, then there is no problem at all. Okay? From your part, if you are not free from it, then it will be, even if it is an iota of it, it will still linger in your heart and mind. No, the whole human psyche has to be examined.
Sir, the problem was there when I tried to correct the other chap.
Correct.
Then in that case, I carry it.
Right.
But once I have decided that I have not has not taken birth to correct everybody.
Right.
Once
It's
I have
not,
decided that,
yeah. It's not your duty at all. My only small point is, sir, is it there in you or not? Is it still that iota of that element is there in you or not? I think Sarangiji has gone your video. See, my point is, if it is in any, even if a small iota of it is lingering in you, it has the potential to
agreed.
bigger, right? That's all.
Yes,
That's
that
all.
point
You
is
are able to do it, finished. No problem at all. You don't carry any ill will.
It is
Right?
possible to do that. Yes.
Yeah, that's all. That's all. Beyond that, you can't do it. It's not your duty to correct everybody, nor is it your duty to go out of the way. See what happens in certain relationships. It really matters to clarify things. It really helps in clarifying things. Unfortunately, it so happens that even amongst couples, even between wife and husband, they carry ill will. Even
After
close
some time,
uh,
after some time, the communication is not there, sir.
yeah, you get used to it, and you continue to some kind of a detente, and you agree to disagree, and then you remain. So that also is a burden. That also is a burden on the human
It's a
psyche.
burden.
So
It's a
get rid
burden.
of that. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, get rid of that. Get rid of that. That's important, because this after all your life, and this is the sadhana that is important for you. Okay, so one needs to examine one's own human psyche to see whether we carry that kind of ill will. So let us not also have very strong political ideologies also in our mind. Strong social or political or cultural ideologies also are burdensome. What happens is all your life you are driven by some kind of a passion of nationalism and Mera Bharat Mahan and this and that. That's an exclusive way of looking at it. It's an exclusive way of looking at it. Not necessary. So carrying all these things they also are a problem. So they're deep-rooted, deep-seated. So that's why Krishnaji used to say that if you are able to examine your conscious mind very carefully, then slowly what happens is what is in the subconscious comes to the conscious. When you observe that, then the unconscious will come to the conscious, come to the conscious. So all deep-rooted, deep-seated things which you thought were not there in you or which are non-existent for most of your life would come up, and you can cleanse them completely once for all. That is what is important. So this is a process, sir. This is a process which you have to undergo, and then it's actually something which you are able to see. Do we have that courage to see? That's more important. Do I have the courage to see the violence in me, the passion in me, the anger, the jealousy, the hatred, all kinds of mess is there in me? Do I have the courage to see it, or I keep on brushing it under the carpet every time thinking that I am not that? No, it's only an aberration, it's not there in me. Or am I doing that? Or do I have the courage to face it? That's most important. So it is something that is why it is called as walking on the razor's edge. You neither can stand, neither can walk, neither can balance yourself on the edge of a razor. Shurasya dhara nishita duratyaya is a beautiful statement in the Kathopanishad. So the why it is difficult is on account of the mind refusing to see the truth. Because when the mind sees the truth, it becomes irrelevant. The mind becomes totally irrelevant, which it doesn't like. An identity which I have created over 40, 50, 60, 70 years, if I accost it and come to realize that it is irrelevant, then my whole being becomes irrelevant. But that's the fact of the matter. That is the fact of the matter. So the mind will refuse to come to terms with these things. Observe that also. Observe how the mind is playing the games, how the mind is trying to twist and turn things and then manipulate it in its own way. That's the the crux of it is in daily living, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Binaji,
Thank you.
Sachin is here.
Sajani is here. Yeah. Sajani?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Krishnapani ji. It was good to have you back after this break of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we have gotten back on track now. Thank you so much. And now we will end with the Loka Samasta. Let us all chant silently. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And please join us we have a lot of programs. I know all of you are on the WhatsApp, so I'm not going to read them out. We have programs on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's only Monday and Tuesday we don't have programs. So kindly log in. They're very interesting programs. And if you can't log in, at least get 5 other people to log in. Because we have such good speakers. Swami Chidanand, we have Vani, we have Krishnapani ji, and we are not charging for anything. So it would be good if you could tell people about it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday. That is Dr. Hegde's program, Param Vedanta. Thank you.
Thank you.